Everybody, how's it going? My name is Errol E, and welcome to Every Moment with Errol E. Today we have an amazing guest. His name is Jordan, and we're going to be talking about the three M's. So that is going to be masculinity, money, and marriage. And we'll be broadcasting live in our new home, and that will be LinkedIn as well. So we'll be broadcasting on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So let's join Jordan. But before we do, let's kick that sweet intro.
You're listening to Every Moment with Errol E. We believe that every moment deserves a better story, and on this podcast, we tell those stories. Here's your host, Errol E.
All right. We are live. So welcome, Jordan. How are you doing
Thanks for
today?
having me.
Thank
I'm
you.
well. Excited to be here and ready to dive in.
Awesome. So before we dive into some of the questions, like how was your day today? So what did you do today? How was your day?
So it's been relatively chill so far. Normally I'm off on Mondays, of course, with it being Labor Day. I've
Mhm.
had that luxury to spend with my wife, and I have plans of cutting the grass. So she's making me cut the grass today. So I'm enjoying my chill back when I can, while I can.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I cut the grass yesterday, so the weather wasn't that bad, which was good.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that bad. So that's awesome. That's great. You're having a great day today. Now, if anyone has any comments they want to throw in on the chat, you can definitely do that too as well. So me, Jordan, we can answer some of these questions. All right. So as you can see, we're going to be discussing today, and that is the three M's: masculinity, money, and marriage. And I think for being a man, a lot of these kind of go hand in hand together when we think
Yeah.
about like what is a man and how can a man be great in a marriage and how does a man handle his finances and that all plays a role in everything I feel that like a man does like and what he represents. So we're gonna be so the first question I really want to ask you is what comes to your mind when you hear the word masculinity?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first things that come to mind would be um, security, being able to protect all that he may own or all that he's responsible to cover. Provision, being able to provide for whether that be his family, maybe just his spouse during this time of life. And
Mm.
when I hear masculinity, I think more logical than emotion, whether that be thinking strategically more so based off the facts than emotion, which is a bit more common. So
Right. And do you feel nowadays that word masculinity is skewed in a way, like the whole like to be a man? What does it mean to be masculine?
great question. Yeah, I think that today we kind of have two different views of what masculinity looks like. One could be more toxic than the other. When I think about like toxic masculinity and how often it's portrayed, it's the macho man, the superhero who doesn't acknowledge his emotions, doesn't speak about them because if he does, he's considered weak and
Hmm.
almost like a female. Whereas on the other side of that, like manhood, it's uh, the emotionally intelligent man, the one that's aware of his emotions, the one that can address it and also talk about it. I think that that's starting to come up more often in the conversation of what it actually looks like to be a positive masculine man instead of like the beer drinker, the one that just wants to sit on the
Right.
couch all day and yelling and all that thing. So yeah.
Right. Because, yeah, I feel like now it's like taking a whole new dynamic. Like, it's okay to show your emotions and share your emotions. If we look at it like women can share their emotions and everything, but like
Mhm.
with men, we keep it all inside. It's like if we
Right.
share anything outside of maybe sports, then it's like you're not a man, you're not masculine, you're not strong, you're weak, like you
Yeah.
said. And I think now breaking those barriers down is good because you know if you keep everything inside, that's going to kill you in the end. That's really going to kill you in the
Right.
end, physically, mentally, spiritually. Um, so I feel it's good for men, like you said, to like share and be open and like it's okay to cry and be intelligent um, in those aspects. Now, how what was your like transition like from boyhood to now manhood? What was that like?
Yeah. So, and I have to try to pretend like I don't still look like a boy, but as far as the transition, I would say for me, it happened not too long ago. My transition, I would say, from more so like a young man to like, okay, I actually identify as drop the young part, even though I still am, but just a
Mm,
man that can hold his own would be, once I got married. There's a lot of things that I had to put into place quickly. I had to move out of my parents' house,
right,
and be able to make sure that I could provide a living space, a safe living space for my wife, and handle my own responsibilities, and that'd be the mortgage, maybe car notes when we had them, and things of that nature. So I would say my transit, it was smooth. My parents did a wonderful job preparing me for manhood, and
mm,
taking care of my responsibilities, and building my own family. So
nice. Now, I'm glad you mentioned your parents. A lot of men might not have a two-parent household. So how do you feel
right.
that can affect them? I know with me, single parent, mom raised me my whole life. So how do you think that can have a adverse effect on what a man should be not being able to see maybe that unit
Yeah.
together?
Yeah, absolutely. So the adverse effect of not having like a father in the house, it I would say is really difficult because you're going to get the interpretation of what a man is from somewhere. So if it's not directly in the home, that can end up, the shows that we may watch, the other men that you may have outside of the home, they may not be positive influences. It just depends on who you're all around. So I mean, it could have a really bad impact because you're going to get the for you the interpretation of what a man is from somewhere. And if you don't
Right.
have that man in the house to kind of guide you, it's going to be really difficult because at this point you're kind of grasping whatever concept that you can from whatever male figure you may have present in your life, and that may not always be a positive role model. So
Right. And that is true. Like if you don't have like that influence inside of your home,
yeah,
you will look at it whether it be on the TV, and in some cases, unfortunately, the street life, and your boys, your friend, that could be that male influence where people are like, oh no, that's cool, that's the way to go,
mhm,
and that is something that we all need to take a look at and be like, the man needs to be in the home. The man needs to be that positive influence inside the home. We got an awesome comment from Aaron. Good content, which is great. That's great to see that people are watching and men are watching too. So I hope everyone can take away from this episode here. So Jordan, when that time comes, and and if you have a son, let's say, how would
mhm.
you raise your own son? How would that be? What would that look like to you?
Yeah. So yeah, that time is hopefully coming soon. I'm hoping that God will bless me with a son. But in my mind, how I want him to be raised is kind of going back to what I mentioned a bit earlier, is being emotionally intelligent. Is very important for anyone. And again, that's being able to identify what you're feeling, being aware of it, and being okay to speak up. Not always trying to wear that S on your chest and keep those emotions bottled up, because that can, really negatively impact not just you, but anyone else you may be involved with, whether that's family, friends, acquaintances, wives, girlfriends, and things of that nature. So that would be the first part: being emotionally intelligent, disciplined, doing things that you should do regardless of how you feel. You have responsibilities, and sometimes you may not feel the urge to get them done, but it still needs to be done. So discipline, being accountable. When you say you're going to be somewhere, or you say that you are going to do something, that you follow through. That builds a good reputation. That's important. A lot of people say that word is bond, and I believe that 100%, because if someone can't be accountable, no one's going to trust you, and that's not a good thing. And also how to
Right.
handle money, his finances, is definitely going to be passed down. Of my wisdom to him, I believe it's going to be very important to learn how to not only manage money, but grow it through investing, through many avenues that may be of interest to him at that time. And also how to be caring. When we think about manhood and masculinity, that word isn't typically thrown in there, but how to care, how to be sympathetic or empathetic. So yeah, I would definitely say it would be those things.
Yep. How to be sympathetic, empathetic, and just be open and
Yeah,
naturally want to share and not keep everything suppressed
definitely.
inside. And you rolled into the next segment right here, and I think this is a very hard segment for a lot of people. A lot of people don't even share this in their life, and it's money
Right.
and talking about money um, in that regard. So the first question I want to ask is, what were you taught about money growing up? Whether it be saving, investing, debt, and earning. What was your knowledge like when it comes to money?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought this topic up, because I'm not sure why it happens to be, but money is typically like a taboo topic. It's not really talked about openly in some situations, and uh, whether that be even in the work environment, we don't talk about that. But as far as what I was taught about money growing up, saving was definitely important. You needed to
Hmm.
save money in case of emergencies. But I would really say that what I was taught was kind of basic. You want to save, you want to go to work, make sure that you have a good job, and yeah. So I would say that it was kind of basic in regards to money, the money conversation. So
So it's kind of basic, but how did you like gravitate towards like I want to learn more about money, because that's a big thing.
mm,
Like a parent could sit their child down and say, all right, let's talk about money or not talk about money. How did you gravitate towards that? And was it at a
yeah.
young age where you was like, no, I really want to learn about money. I want to learn what it takes to have money or grow money.
Yeah. So it's funny because I mean, as long as I could remember, I've always been interested in business, finance, and money just in general. Even when I was younger, I actually wanted to be a veterinarian. Like I really enjoyed animals, but it wasn't until I think high school, and I was in anatomy and physiology, and I noticed I don't want to work on animals. Like I don't want to cut them open or anything like that. But even
Right.
when I was younger, because I shared my visions with my dad, again, that is it shows how important having a father in the household is. I shared my vision with him, and I said during the time I wanted to be a veterinarian, like I want to open multiple veterinary clinics, and I want to brand them and position them in such a way that I could have multiple open and bring in revenue. I was thinking about how I was going to advertise the clinics and everything like that, and
Right.
he pointed that out. It's like, that's more so of business, and learning how to grow a business, build a business, market, and everything like that. And it just kind of clicked. It's like, okay, yeah, I love animals. I have two now, but my main thing, my main passion is, money and finances. So uh, that, what was the original question though? Because I think that I was kind of segueing into the question.
Right. So like how did you kind of like navigate
Gravitate.
towards
Yeah.
like I want to learn more about money, especially
Yeah.
at a
So
young
it kind of,
age? Yeah.
yeah, it kind of addresses that,
So
why I ended up getting interested, but also it came from, just watching my parents. Even though, parents have the thing of, which is correct, not bringing your kids into specific situations. They shouldn't be aware of certain things, but I believe me and my brother could kind of tell that there were some struggles there, because stress kind of transfers. Like when stress is in the home, everyone could kind of feel it. And
mhm.
for me, it was like, okay, I understand that. For me, I believe we grew up middle class, but we had the best of everything. My parents did a wonderful job, making sure that we had food on the table, clothes on our back. But I could kind of sense that there was some stress in the area of, finances. There were certain things that I would see. So for me, it kind of lit the fire even more to be like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm as knowledgeable as possible in this specific area, because I don't want to repeat like the stresses that are caused because of money, for whatever the situation may be, whether it's debt, bills piling up. So I want to do my best to make sure that I educate myself to my full capability, to where I'm not worried about money. I'm more so focused on how to double, triple, quadruple, the amount that I have, instead of trying to figure out where my money is going. I want to be focused on telling my money where to go, in a
Right.
sense. So
Right. Yep. And that is so important, trying to figure out telling your money where to go, best place to have it grow,
right.
and so forth. But I think one of the biggest things, especially in America right now, is debt. And a
Yeah.
lot of people have debt. I know for me personally, I'm trying to get out
Hmm.
of debt. And that is such a hard thing to not only talk about, to open up about. But what do you believe about debt, and how do you feel about paying your debt? Because a lot of times people are like, it's fine. Like I'll just swipe my card, or it's okay. I can just do whatever. I'm paying this off, but I can rack it up. What's
Yeah.
your feelings about that?
Yeah, so another great question. As far as my viewpoint of debt, you want to avoid it as much as possible. If you're fortunate enough to learn about debt, and why you should stay away young enough, make sure throughout the years that you are taking the appropriate measures to avoid it. I think that, the Bible says, the borrower is slave to the lender. So with that in mind, stay away from it as much as possible. If you are currently in debt, you want to make sure that you are taking the appropriate measures as far as educating yourself and how to set up a budget, and then reduce the amount of debt that you have to virtually where you don't have any. I know that there are certain people that have different viewpoints as far as good debt and bad debt. Good debt would be debt that puts money in your pocket. So that would be maybe a loan that you take out to purchase a rental property. So now that's an asset of yours and it's putting money into your pocket. Whereas the bad debt would be liabilities. Putting a large TV on a credit card, so you don't have the money, but now you're financing it. Loans for auto, those things depreciate. It's not an asset whatsoever. So some say that there is good debt and bad debt. I'm trying to still figure out what my viewpoint is on that. If it's just that is that period, or if I agree with, there is good debt and there is bad debt. So, but generally you want to avoid it as much as possible. But if you are in it, you want to pay it off as soon as you can.
Right. And one thing about debt, if you are in it, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You
Right.
can always get out of it. So whether it be educating yourself, taking classes, looking up videos, there is multiple ways to get out. So if you feel like you're like drowning in debt, and I know that feeling, and feeling ashamed and guilty, know that there
Mhm.
is a way to get out. There is a way. So don't let that pile up on you, of feeling guilty. Anyone watching, that is one thing you should know. Like, don't give up. There's a way to get out of the debt grave. Let's say,
Yeah.
you can climb that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I would also say,
So, uh,
yeah, yeah, I would also say that
oh no,
I
keep going,
think,
keep going. You're good.
yeah, I think that people also have the assumption that debt is normal, and it's not. I remember my wife having a conversation with one of her coworkers, and she was kind of astonished by the fact that I have really no debt at all, or very little. And she was like, "Well, you're always going to have debt," and and it's just that mindset that ends up trapping people, that debt is normal. You're always going to have car note payments, or you're always going to be in credit card debt, and we have to move away from that. It's not normal. And also being brave enough, I'll position it this way, brave enough to confront that you are in debt, because I think that some people shy away from addressing the fact that they're in debt because it's tough. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at 20 plus thousand in student loans, and it's a hard thing to kind of face. But I think that
Hmm.
it is important to kind of buckle up, face the fact that you are in debt, and then come up with a strategy to how to pay it off. There are a lot of great resources uh, out there to pay off debt. I know Dave Ramsey is
Dave
a
Ram,
great
yes,
great
yes.
resource, and amongst a lot of people right now, I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but his crew, Dave Ramsey, Anthony O'Neill, and Chris Hogan. So anyone looking to get out of debt, I would suggest starting there. They're great
Mm.
resources. So
Yes, I agree with the Dave Ramsey. Me and my wife, we took that Dave Ramsey course,
yeah.
and honestly, someone who was in debt and had a hard time looking at money, this really did help me out.
Mhm.
Um, there's still, including my wife, helped me out understanding the money portion, and getting out of the debt, and try to crush the debt. But know that educating yourself is great. And then it is a humbling experience once you sit down, write down all your numbers, look at your debt, and then figure out a way to crush it as best
Mhm.
as possible. And if you have someone else to help you in the house, that'll be great. But if you're doing it by yourself, this is where education is key. This is where maybe not eating out as much. Like, even if you have to do that ramen noodle, peanut butter and jelly all day, do
Yeah.
it, to get out, of that. Because that, unfortunately, is something a lot of people go through, and that it cause a lot of friction in the household, within themselves, and things like that. But what do you believe about what is it? What do you believe about money for your future when it comes to saving, investing, good debt, and like earning? Because some people might invest in Nike for the shoes, right? They buy the
Mhm.
shoes, a new one comes out, a new Jordans, a new this, a new that, and it's awesome. But why not throw 10% in stock and you own part of that company instead of
Right,
owning the shoe, own part of that company, something
right.
like that.
Yeah. So as far as my belief, I definitely believe 100% that investing is important. Saving as well. I know that generally you want to have like an emergency fund and then save up. I
Mhm.
would say 3 to 6 months of expenses. Some people say income. I would just say of expenses, 3 to 6 months, and then you want to move on
Right.
to investing. I'm a heavy investor. I invest in the stock markets. I'm looking to move into mutual funds, but I'm really heavy into investing in stocks. I love it, messing with the numbers, watching my money, my initial deposit grow is a wonderful thing. In regards to
Mhm.
buying shoes or just buying things that are not going to help you in the future in regards to your finances, I think there's many ways to make it work. Even if that person that's buying the Jordans, they could start a business that way. There's a lot of people that
There
flip
you go.
sneakers out. Yeah, that kind of create a business around it. So if you find yourself loving clothes, loving shoes, create a business out of it. Learn how to make a profit, and then once you have that additional income, learn how to invest it. So I'm big on investing, growing money, saving, and not acquiring debt.
There you go. Try not to acquire that debt. Try to build your money, grow your money. There's a lot of things. You said stocks. There's probably like the penny stocks too. If you're like, I don't want to put all my money in here, why not
Hmm.
do like maybe little bits of different stocks? But probably not to put all your money on one thing. Should you separate
Right,
your money so it goes into different areas?
right. Yeah, I mean, penny
So
stocks
when
are
it comes to yeah, penny stocks
there's
are
a bit of
good.
a delay.
But I think diversifying, yeah. Do you think people should diversify their money?
Yes, definitely. It's funny you mentioned diversified because I was reading a bit earlier. Um, for me, in case anybody doesn't know, I'm big on faith as far as Christianity. And I just saw that question, but it disappeared. I want to make sure we address that. But for me, diversifying, even in the Bible, Ecclesiastes 11 says, "Take your grain, ship it across the sea, so that you may receive a return. Um, invest in seven ventures, even eight, for you never know." I don't know the exact word for word, but it's just around what I just said. It proves that even in the Bible, it's talking about diversification. You figure back in those days, their
Right.
seeds, it was a form of currency because they were big in agriculture. So essentially what it's saying is, take your money and spread it through many ventures so that you may. It doesn't say it's guaranteed. Investing is not a
Right.
guaranteed return, but as you learn more and more, you kind of limit the risk and increase the potential gain. So when I read that, that was just more so like diversify. Don't keep your eggs in one basket, because if that basket ends up breaking, you lose all your eggs. So you want to have it planted in many assets and things of that nature. So
Right. Yeah. So try not to put your eggs in one basket.
right,
Separate everything, diversify. If one goes down, then at least you're covered. You're not having to worry like, oh, all my money is now wiped because of this stock. You're separating it. So even if one is down, at least the others can keep you afloat.
right.
But what do you think people can learn about their past mistakes to make better money decisions. Because I
Yeah.
feel like we can
So
all learn from history. They always say, learn from the past.
yeah, and history has a tendency to repeat itself. So one
Hmm.
again is just that thing of addressing like, hey, we got here by our decisions. We got in debt by doing this and that. How do we figure out how to avoid it? So that would be educating yourself. Pick up a book. For many people that may not like physical books, there's audio books that you can listen to. There's a lot of great resources. You just need to take the time and one, search them out actively, because where you are, you won't get to where you want to be by being passive. Being good with money, it's a habit. It's because of intention. Being intentional about,
Hmm.
again, instead of worrying about where your money is going, learn how to tell it where to go. So you actively
Right.
have to read books, and it's going to be a bit time consuming. It's not an easy subject. I would say, there's numbers involved sometimes, which can scare people, but I think that once you acquire the knowledge, you'll be able to simplify the process. So I would just say, in order to avoid the mistakes, you have to learn why they're made, and most likely it's because um, you didn't sit down and actually uh, read and educate yourself on money. So
Right. That is so true. Sit down, learn about it. Mistakes happen, but you can undo your mistake to make better money decisions, better life choices. So, what is your belief when it comes to spending money, and how do you feel when you spend money? Like, there's a difference from maybe spending money at the grocery store to buying a electronic.
yeah,
So how do you feel about spending money?
yeah. So as far as what I think about it, I mean, money is it's important to save, but it's also there for your enjoyment as well. So there's things that you're going to want to buy that I believe people should buy, but I think it is important to live below your means. Uh, with money, I think we use it as a tool to impress others. And
Hmm.
that could be, buying the newest car, the biggest television, the biggest house, and that can cause you to be a bit in over your head. So live below your means. Don't buy to impress people, but also be reasonable. If you don't have the money right now, save
Hmm.
up and then buy it outright. I think with working for a credit card company, a lot of mistakes that I see is people believe that credit cards is an extension of their income instead of an extension from the bank. Like, that's debt. That's just a loan that you don't have to apply for each time you go to use the card. But it's not an extension of your income. You didn't
Right.
make the money yourself. So if you do not have the 100, 200, $2,000 that you're looking at to buy whatever it is that you want, I would suggest save up. Do not buy it on the credit card, because that's how you end up racking up that form of debt. So yeah.
Hmm.
And then
I
how I
agree.
feel
And
about the question as well. As far as how I feel, it's funny because I kind of tell my wife that I can. It's like a meter. When I'm starting to spend a bit too much, or I'm getting close to the budget, or I'm slightly over, I could just feel it. There's something that doesn't sit well with me. I mean, that could also be because I check my bank like just about every day. I may not have even spent anything that day, but I just, still check. That way I have a mental image of what it is that I have, how much have I spent outside of the budget so far. So how I feel about it is, if you have the money,
mhm.
go ahead, as long as everything else is taken care of. But also make sure that you are limiting yourself and not financing things and getting into that type of trouble. So
Right. And I think that is an important thing. If you don't have it, don't rack up your credit card. Because that's going to now put you in that negative whatever you just purchased, and now you're going to have to pay that off, and you might think, small number. Oh, it's only $50 a month. It's only this a month. But if you look at
Yeah,
that interest will kill you. Literally, it will kill your pockets.
seen it happen. Yeah.
Yes, it will. Oh, yes, it will. Rise credit. Yes, it will. Um, so how do you value money? How do you value money?
Yeah. So I just kind of look at it as a tool. It'll provide or assist in things that you're looking for. As far as value, that's it's a good question. I actually have to kind of think on that a bit. Yeah, to me, I just kind of see it as a tool to purchase things that you may be interested in, as long as you have full amount in your account to pay for. Um, it'll allow you to experience things, whether that's traveling. I think I have like my value for it is it's pretty high because it's important because it can allow you to experience important things in life. I wouldn't have been able to get married without money. I don't put my life into it in a sense. I don't put it above God. I don't put it above my marriage. It's very low on the totem pole, but I understand its importance. So I understand the importance, but I wouldn't say that value. Yeah, because when I think about value, it's like it's something that I cherish, and money isn't that. I just see it as a tool or resource to get things done, pay for services, invest, grow your wealth, and provide for your family. I just see it as a tool. I don't put too much value into it, but
Right. Awesome. So, yeah, like it's good to know about money,
yeah,
value money, but take care of money. At the end of the day, you want to take care of your money. You don't want to value it over God, your
right.
family, your kids. Like know that money is a tool to help you build whatever it is you want to build. I think that's probably the best way to say it. Money
And
is
I
like a
just want to
tool.
comment. Yeah, money is a great slave and a terrible master. That's the truth for
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Money is a great slave and a terrible master. Yes, that is true. That is so true. And Jill said, live below your means, preach unwanted debt, and only pay for things that you have for money in your account for. The borrower is always slave to the lender, and that is so true. That
Yeah.
is so true. Now we are moving on from money to now moving on to the I do's of marriage. And,
Big
you
M.
know, yeah, marriage is a beautiful thing. And before we get into marriage, some people are like, well, maybe we should do counseling. And when we
Yeah.
hear the word counseling, we might think that's kind of like negative. Like, why do you need counseling in the beginning? Like, you
Right.
might have been together a year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. Why do we need counseling for a marriage? But what is your take on counseling before getting married, during your marriage, um, as well? And have you gotten any counseling, like premarital counseling, um, and maybe doing counseling now?
Sure. So, yeah, me and my wife, we did do premarital counseling. I'm a big advocate for it because we were together. Don't quote me on this. I believe it was 5 years before we got married. So, I mean, we had some skin in the game. We weren't, dating only 1 to 2 years. Uh, so we went in there with an understanding or posture to learn. We didn't think that we knew everything about each other and everything about the marriage scene because that would be incorrect. So through premarital counseling, there was a lot that we were exposed to that we never thought about. We never actually had a conversation, sat down and had a conversation about money. It's funny,
Mhm.
as much as I'm into finance and everything, I never really had the conversation with my wife, and what budgeting for us would look like, what her viewpoint is on spending, just like the question that you asked earlier. So that was eye opening. And even intimacy, that's something that isn't really talked about a lot, as far as not just physical intimacy, but emotional intimacy, what that looks like for us, what it all entails. So it was very eye opening. There were some things that we didn't see eye to eye on during that time, but we were able to talk through it, and also with great guidance as well. So we may not have had the solution, but we were able to get good feedback from our guidance counselors, our marriage counselors, excuse me, which was definitely important. We had some tough conversations, but they needed to be had. So
Hmm. And it's good to have those conversations before you get
mhm.
married, because at least, like, it's like clearing the air. Um, like, if you're open, it's not like, oh my gosh, I can't do
Right,
this, but it's more like, let me understand you better. And you're having kind of like this third party who may not know you like that,
right.
give you that advice, so they're not biased on, like, oh, we know the groom on this, or we know the wife on that. It's kind of like that outside, like, okay,
Yeah, you don't have
who's
mom and
this?
dad trying to give their own opinions and everything. Yeah, neutral
Yep,
third party. Yeah.
that is true. So yeah, if anyone can find, like, a good marriage that is maybe outside of your family, friends, and even outside the church too, where you can get that, like, unbiased, and really look at how to deal with those type of maybe conflicts resolutions
Mhm.
together, prior to saying I do, where it springs up and they're like, oh, I didn't know this. So having that marriage
Right.
counseling is good. It's a good thing. um so how did you know you wanted to get married? Like, what was that aha, like, I know I have to marry this woman? What was that? How did you know?
Yeah. So it's through a lot of prayer. There were some times where I just didn't know. I've told her that a few times as well. But I think uh, I would say like the pivotal moment for me was me and my now wife, my then girlfriend. We had kind of split up for a few, and normally through a breakup, you're feeling heartache, pain, you're sad, and I felt those emotions. It was normal, but for me, the reason I was feeling it was a bit different. It wasn't because the relationship had ended, and I'm just really sad. To me, I was sad. I was grieving, but still all in that, like, this is the girl that I want to be with. Throughout those motions, that's the thing that kept playing in my head, is like, I really want to be with this girl. And the reason for the split up was because I kind of wasn't stepping up. I was selfish, and everything. I was more so thinking about myself because it was hard. That was my first long relationship, one that I took seriously. So, with being single, everything, you're more focused about yourself. So I had to learn that transition, and I wasn't doing too good during that time. So that's the reason we ended up splitting up. But yeah, it just, that time just really made me realize, like, this is the girl that I want to be with. My life is a lot better with her.
Mm,
She was like, even I would say we're yin and yang. She's the opposite side of the spectrum, but we complemented each other so well. She was very supportive. So I didn't want to get back with her because I didn't want or I wanted the pain to end. I was getting back with her because I knew that, wow, like, this is my girl, and this is someone that I wanted to marry. So that's kind of when I found out that I wanted to marry her, and here we are, almost 2 years later, married.
awesome. That's such a no, that is such a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, with marriage, but also too that it's kind of like the whole butterfly scenario. Like if like there was a breakup, but if it's meant to be, it's meant to be,
Right.
and the butterfly will come back. So like you know, and that's the mentality. Is like if you can say, what, I don't want to be selfish no more. I love her. This is
Right.
what I want. Then God's gonna be like, okay, I see that you are becoming mature. Now I'm gonna bring this person back into your life. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's that's really good, man. That's really good. So how do you and your wife manage the outside noise? In this world, people are giving advice on what you should do, what you
Mhm.
shouldn't do. This is how your marriage should be. How do you really manage that outside noise?
Yeah. So with being married, I mean, there's a lot of noise surrounding relationships, period. But
Hmm.
even more so when we're talking about marriage. Uh, for us, we've really been blessed with a great circle of people. So it's really the noise that we're hearing, it's not so much noise, it's just wisdom. So we've been really blessed to have a great circle of people. My parents married for, I believe, 23 years now. Her parents are still married. I'm not quite sure the number on them, but we've been able to pull from two great resources. There are some people that thought we were a bit too young to get married,
Hmm.
so I got married at 21. So there was a lot of noise, I guess, in regards to that element. But hey, my thing is, I don't believe that there's a thing of being too young. You have two people. A lot of people, their argument is, oh, you're just figuring yourself out. You don't know exactly what you want. I know exactly what I want, and as we grow, we're going to learn ourselves together. So as I change, as she changed, we're going to constantly learn and adapt to those changes and whatever may arise because of it. So
Hmm.
yeah, you're missing out on a lot of fun. No, I have a wife that I can go to a party with if I want to. Just because you get married, the fun does not need to stop. You have a life partner, and you get to enjoy a lot of things with that one partner. I don't need two, three, four, five, six women to enjoy life. That's really my best friend. So yeah, so that's how.
Awesome, man. Beautiful. Beautiful words right there, man. So if anyone has any questions for Jordan as well, throw those in the comments. We'll be answering them at the end too. But to talk on a serious note, and a lot of people have a hard time talking about this one, and that one is the word divorce. A lot of people have a hard time talking about divorce and things like that. Um, so hold on real quick. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. All right, sorry for the delay. All right, so we are back. So one thing I do want to throw out there, Tiffany says, "I love you too, honey," There you go. There you go. So that is wonderful. But the question that I wanted to discuss was, and I know it's a very hard topic for a lot of people to discuss, and that is the word divorce. No one really who's going into marriage wants to get a divorce. You know, you say sickness and a health, death do you part, you that's your life partner. But in life, divorce does happen. Why do you think a lot of people are quick to divorce, and why is that?
Yeah, so yeah, divorce, you hear a lot about it nowadays. One thing that I would say, and I don't plan on becoming a specialist at divorce. I don't, so that's a good thing. But one thing, observing others is initially they don't view it as a life term commitment. When we say I do, better for worse, for richer, for poor, like that's life. But I think people, even though they say their vows in their heart, is just like, okay, I'm here as long as things are good. Kind of like, farewell spouses. I'm only here during the good times, and if it's not good, then I'm leaving. I think that's a mentality that is caused by, I would even say, social media a bit. We have the couples taking the pictures when everything is good, when they're traveling, but we don't get to see a lot of what happens in the background, having the tough conversations. You may not like your spouse in this specific moment, but there's still love, and we need to communicate. So there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And I believe that partially social media plays a part in why we're seeing a lot of issues, because everyone is seeing the highlights, but they're
Mm,
not seeing that the hard work, the practice, which is the communication,
right.
and sitting down, having those hour, 2 hour conversations, even though you may be done. So I think that partially divorce is why it's still very, I wouldn't say high, but it's higher than it should be. It should be zero.
Right. It should be zero. But for people who have gone through divorce, there is that match out there for you.
Mhm.
There is that match out there. Take the time to love you, find you, and really be like, you know what, the next person that comes along, that's the one I want to be with. The divorce rate is high, but it doesn't have to be. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I
have
kind of
to be.
want to go back to what I mentioned a bit. I wouldn't say it should be zero, because there are some situations where divorce is probably the best route, especially if you may be involved in like a abusive relationship. So I
Yep.
do think there are some
Agree.
circumstances where a divorce is warranted. If you happen to be in that abusive relationship, no one should stay in that. But outside of that, if it's more so of, oh, he doesn't get me, or things of that nature, I think that you could really sit down, talk through the situation. And even there was a question before, marital counseling during.
Mm,
I'm an advocate for that as well. I don't believe that you have to have a bad marriage in order to have counseling while you're married.
mm,
When you're growing a seed into something, you water it as it's growing. You don't wait till it's almost dead in order to start watering the seed. Your
right.
seed is that marriage, so you still want to pour into it, even if things are great. It's still things that you can learn about during a great marriage, and it can get better even, with having an expert, or great set of people that have been in your shoes before and have a proven track record. So
Right. That's true. That is so true. Now, do you feel that the word why do you think people get married out of necessity? Some people might think, oh, it's just the thing to do, or my parents tell me I should, or I read books and this is what life should be like. Why do you think people get married out of necessity?
Yeah, I think that there's a few things that play into that. Some could be, religion. Uh, Specifically with us, we're told not to have sex until we're married. So people may want to get, and it's a very silly thing to get married because of. So if some people just want to have sex, that's it. Like, hey, I'm attracted to this person. Let's just get married, and that's not a good foundation to build a marriage off of. It yeah. So I'll just keep it there. But um, so I think that's one thing. Religion may play a role. Hey, I can't do this unless I'm married, so I'm just going to get married.
Mm.
Uh, some people don't want to be lonely. They marry out of fear of being lonely. Let me capture this person, keep them. That way, I'm no longer sad. I don't have to worry about being boyfriend, girlfriendless for however long.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that play into that. So
Right. That's true. I didn't think about the whole like the lonely part. Yeah, some people might be lonely and be like, let me just get married, so I'm not gonna be lonely. But that can definitely have an adverse effect, and that can cause a lot of different things, and have a emotional roller coaster
right,
uh, in your marriage. So don't dive into marriage just because you're lonely or this person's attractive and you're like, okay, yeah, I want to get married because they're attractive and that's it. Like, don't go
right,
in that way because, um, yeah, it just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. But if anyone has any questions, you can definitely throw it in the chat. But before we wrap up, there is that one question right here from Ray. And she says, how do men build emotional intelligence? That is such a great question. How do
mhm.
men build emotional intelligence?
Yeah. So I think that one is to address the stigma out there that men aren't supposed to display emotions at any point. They there is that stigma that we are supposed to keep the ass on our chest, be
Hmm.
strong, and everything like that. But I think it's important to acknowledge that it's okay sometimes to, take the cape and the suit off and just vent to whoever may be around, whether that's a spouse,
Hmm.
a loved one, friend, because that can hurt you more than it can help. Because as you bottle things in, that can cause you to explode when it's
Hmm.
not warranted. It can create toxic masculinity
Yep.
because you want to hold everything in. You're trying to do things at you're not functioning at full capacity because you think holding it in is going to allow you to still accomplish the things and take care of everything. But I think that'll drain you more than anything. So as far as how to build it, one, acknowledge the
Hmm.
fact that it's okay. Yo,
Hmm.
if you need to cry sometimes, go ahead. Uh, it's okay, because at the end of the day, you'll be able to better function.
Right.
Read into it, educate yourself. Of course, what emotional intelligence exactly is. There's a lot of great resources. Again, books, podcasts, YouTube videos that'll help you to learn how to express yourself because it's not easy. I
Hmm.
wouldn't say it's an easy thing, especially when you're carrying around this persona that you have everything together and you're
Hmm.
supposed to have everything together. So I'm learning how to share, be comfortable with sharing. So yeah, I would say acknowledge that's
Hmm.
okay to
Yep.
have emotions other than frustration and being angry. I think that's the, the two emotions that as men we think is acceptable to display, but when we're sad, when we're hurt, those things are supposed to be suppressed. I
Right.
think that's kind of like a bad thing as well. So yeah,
Hmm.
acknowledge, educate, and then
Hmm.
find someone that you can release those emotions to, a safe space. So
A safe space. There you go. A safe space. Awesome. So now, thank you, Jordan. So now we're gonna do some fun questions right here. So,
ready.
yep, you ready? Here we
I'm
go.
ready.
All right. First question: what is the funniest moment in your marriage?
The funniest moment. Oh, geez. I'm glad I only have 2 years to really pick from. The funniest moments. I think because there's a lot of like small funny moments that we have throughout the day. It's hard to pick what the funniest would be. I'm trying to think of something recent. Bear with me here. Funniest moment. My memory is not that great because we've had a lot of funniest moments, but there's not one that comes to mind right now. I know that typically Tiffany doesn't like it always, but I like to kind of scare her from time to time, spook her, which is funny for me, but it may not be funny for us as a whole. Uh, yeah, I have a comment right there. I don't have an answer for that one yet. I'll
All
let you
right.
think about it though.
All right. So I have you think about it. So, celebrity crush. What was your celebrity crush growing up?
Growing up, who did I have crush on? Celebrity crush. I would just go with probably the most generic answer. Say Beyonce.
Beyonce? All right. I feel like that's almost everybody's celebrity crush.
She's just the
Beyonce.
love, yeah.
Yep. So what is the best piece of advice you've gotten?
Best piece of advice. I would say stay on the track that you're on.
Mm,
As simple as it may sound, it's more so reassuring. I've had the ability to sit in front of great counsel,
mm-hmm.
which has contributed to where I am now. Whether that's my parents,
Right.
other people that may be in a position where I'm in. I've been able to sit in a room full of financial advisors, which has really shaped my viewpoint on money even more so. And it
Mm-hmm.
was reassuring to hear like, hey, you know, we think you're great, and just keep on the track that you're on right now. And I guess that would be the best piece of advice because it was reassuring. It's like, okay, all the hard work that I put into not just money, but even my relationship with my wife,
Mm-hmm.
um, spiritually, is just like keep going. You have a good head on your shoulders. Just continue to walk down the path that you're on. Continue to acknowledge God, and you'll be
Mm.
good.
That's so true. That's so true. Now, from the best piece of advice, what about the worst piece of advice you've gotten?
I can answer that immediately. Um, uh, I want to avoid giving too much detail as to identify the person, but it was when I was new to investing specifically in stocks. The piece of advice that was given was um, buy stock where you normally purchase from, like a store. Just think of a store that you normally go to and buy that specific company. It wasn't good at all because there's a lot more to consider just other than I like to shop there. You have to
Mm,
consider how much debt the company has, the debt to income, the
mm,
assets that they have. Operating margin is something that I think is very important when evaluating companies. So that ended up being the worst because I lost quite a bit with that single piece of advice. So
mm.
yeah,
That I'm gonna hold on to that. That will be a good piece of advice to me to not do that. So I'm
yeah,
gonna hold on to that. That's really good.
yeah. I think
Uh
alone just basing that basing your purchase decision off of that is not good. I mean, that's something that you want to consider because if you purchase there is most likely that other people will purchase there, and it's popular, and that would contribute to the company's assets, the revenue that they're able to bring in. But just alone purchasing from somewhere or buying stock in a company that you like to buy stuff from, that ended up hurting me a lot.
All right, that's definitely good to know. The best compliment you've ever gotten?
Best compliment. Probably sweet talking a little bit here, but like you know how I say like married people kind of look alike, like they start to look alike. So saying that they're starting to look alike was a compliment because I have a very beautiful wife.
Oh, there you go. There you go. She's probably gonna be commenting in the chat, which is awesome. All right. So, what do you think the biggest perk is about being married? What is the biggest perk about being married?
Man, the biggest perk so far has just been the favor of God. There have been a lot of opportunities and openings. As it says, God honors marriage, and that's true. We've been blessed, whether it be monetary gifts, opportunities. Again, being able to sit in front of certain people because of us being married has been a great opportunity. So I would say that is the biggest perk. Nothing else can really top that at all. The favor of God, it's heavy.
True story, man. Who would you want to portray your life? If they made a movie about your life, who would you want to portray your life?
That's a good one. Who would I want to portray my life? Like up to this current moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know his name, but I do. Oh man, I'm kind of torn now. So I'm gonna give you two. And then I'll have to make the decision. So, I really like Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
Solid actor.
Yeah.
And just like an overall great guy. Him or what's the guy's name? Because there was a movie that he did with can't think of the name. He was definitely in Moonlight though. He was like the main focus of that movie, but he also did a movie with I'm gonna get torn to pieces. He was the actor in Training Day. He was the main actor in Training Day. I'm gonna get torn to pieces for not knowing this one.
Wait, it wasn't Denzel Washington.
Denzel, yeah.
Okay, Denzel Washington. All right.
Shame I could not think of his name, but because he did a movie also with Denzel. I can't remember the name of it, but since I can't remember his name, I'm just go with Michael B.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if someone could find that answer for us, that'd be great. But what about your guilty pleasure? What's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure would be cars. I just really love cars, specifically sports cars. Recently bought my dream car, which was an 01 Mustang. And as I continue to look at cars, I just want more. Not the most expensive though. It's outside of my budget. That's not living below my means. But just something that no more than like 5K, I would say. The cars that don't seem to age still has power, and you could add things to it. I consider that Mustang my toy. So yeah, that would be my guilty pleasure. Love muscle cars in general. So
nice. A luxury you can't live without.
Luxury that I cannot live without. Are we talking about like like physical things, like a phone, Wi-Fi, or
Yeah.
just anything?
Anything. Anything.
Anything? Well, I'm gonna say this, but I'll give another answer because I would say, obviously my relationship with God, I wouldn't be where I am without Him. But I feel like that's the easy answer. So I'll
Right.
give a different answer. Luxury, I cannot live without. I don't want to say my wife because I buttered her up enough. Um, I would say Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the reason for that is, that's my main use to acquire my knowledge, whether it be ebooks, YouTube, and everything like that. So definitely Wi-Fi.
Nice. I think that's the same with me too. Wi-Fi. Can't live without Wi-Fi. Is there an upcoming movie that you're excited to see?
Upcoming movie. Yes. And I'm glad you brought this up because I totally forgot. I do believe that they are still in 2021 making the second installment of Avatar. So I'm excited about that if it actually comes to fruition. So that's the one that I'm most excited about.
I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see that. I saw part of Avatar. I need to see the full movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't wait to see what Disney, right? Yeah, Disney's gonna come out with.
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah, Disney.
Yeah, what Disney's gonna come out with. Longest period of time you've been awake.
Wake, 24 hours. It's back in my high school days in the summer when I could afford to go stay up all day. So 24 hours will be the longest I've stayed up.
Nice. Superpower you wish you had.
Rewind time.
Ah.
Rewind time. Because I would probably go back and invest in some stocks that's really big now.
Yes. Amazon, Apple,
Yeah,
one of those.
even though
Microsoft,
I'm not a
yeah.
big fan of it, I probably would do cryptocurrency as well. Take that little rise up, sell it,
That's
millionaire.
true. That is so true. I still don't get it. I still don't get
Yeah.
cryptocurrency. I might need to take a class on that. But yeah, it's something. It's new. It's probably not new, but it's new. I feel to a lot of people trying to understand it. But yeah, I agree. If you were stranded on a desert island, what would you bring with you? Maybe three things. What three things would you bring with you if you're stranded on a desert island?
I was stranded. If I was stranded on an island, what three things would I bring with me? I'm trying to avoid giving a funny answer because I would just say a boat. I'm no longer stranded. Definitely Wi-Fi. I need Wi-Fi. Um, my phone, and I bring my wife, and we make it a vacation.
All right, there you go. There you go. All right, something you believed in, or something you long believed to be true, but found out it wasn't.
Yeah, it's a good one. Found out to be, thought it was true, but found out that it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really comes to mind. Can't really think of anything. Yeah, I have nothing for you.
All right. Now, final question. Jordon Hammond in 10 years.
10 years. Yeah, so I'm really big on positioning myself to where I can look back and say I made myself proud. Like the 18-year or even like the 10-year-old me, I could say today I made him proud. So in 10 years, I would still want to be able to look back and say, yeah, the present me is proud of where I am now. I'm probably owning my own business at this point. I'll probably still have my foot in the credit card industry, probably part-time because I really love where I work currently. Debt-free, more so on my wife's end. Will have had paid off all of her debts. Wonderful kids, probably 3 to 5, and happily married still. That's where I would be at in 10 years.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Great 10 years right there, man. But, I want to say thank you very much for coming out and discussing all about the 3 M's: masculinity, money, marriage. Awesome questions in the chat for everyone who was following along. Thank you very much. We hope everyone is staying safe this Labor Day weekend. Hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. Thank you, Jordon, for coming out.
It was great dialogue. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, man. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks for listening to Every Moment with Errol E. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now.